As we all know, J. Cole's one of the most astonishing and accomplished artists of this generation. From being one of the first hip-hop artists to go platinum with no features on an album, to winning a Grammy and being the first artist ever to have a diamond certified song without a music video is an impressive feat itself. But one of the biggest questions that still resides over J. Cole is that does he care about his rap music or his rap career? Or worse, that is he retiring?
It's hard for me to put myself in J. Cole's shoes. And I think it's hard for any of y'all to put yourself in someone like J. Cole's shoes, because J. Cole is elite at what he does in terms of making music. It doesn't seem like his heart is into making music. We heard at one point he said he only had 2 albums left. He's mentioning, like, God damn it, the next project's called The Fall Off. You know, it doesn't look like he's all the way committed. Then you see him pop up playing basketball somewhere else. Again, the only thing I don't even know what to call that. The only thing I can say about that is I hope he's happy.
Throughout J. Cole's whole career, he's went through many different facets of his life. Whether it's him having hoop dreams, him questioning his own materialism, where he stands at for black plight issues and is he a real leader, him seeing a younger generation of rappers struggling with opioid addiction, and most importantly, is he too comfortable with his rap career and does he still have a drive for it, which he still seems to struggle with the most more than anything. But did all those faces play a part in why he thinks like that today? Cause if you ask me, I think it did. And he's seen so much and went through so many internal conflicts within himself, which in a way might have played a part in why he lost his love for the music business. As you probably will know, J. Cole had this conflict within himself between 2013 and 2014 after his Born Sinner album and the making of his 2014 Forest Hills Drive project, where J. Cole not only changed his viewing and materialism, but also how he was going to structure his art going forward. And I feel like he was one of the first hip-hop artists who broke the mold on album rollouts.
I got rid of all old pressures that people think is the right way. All these old questions. What's the single? How long do you put the single out before the album? What's the radio spin? Who's on the album? They always ask that in the interviews. That's old. That's old, bro. So by the time I finished the album, that old question creeped up. There ain't nobody on the album. And the more I think about it, I want to keep it like that. Like, on this album, on this story, I didn't need nobody else's perspective.
Despite J. Cole not having not one feature, one lead single, or just in general a heavy rollout for his album, he would still do massive numbers for an album selling over 353,000 copies, and the project being revered as one of the best hip-hop albums of all time, setting a new mode for itself and how people viewed him. People now looked at him as more than just a music artist, but J. Cole. They viewed him as if they had a personal connection with him, and what he said in his music they were relating to, which became even more apparent on his next album, For Your Eyes Only, where you heard J. Cole's most sentimental and vulnerable lyrics at this point, portraying himself as a regular person who goes through everyday issues just like you, and dealing with everyday regular conflict in the Ville that he grew up in. Even on the last song, For Your Eyes Only, which is my personal favorite, he tells a perspective of himself and his best friend that was shot and killed due to gun violence, explaining to his best friend's daughter the street life that he lived and the consequences that he's suffering for it. And due to him feeling like he might not live to see her grow up, he wanted to express his feelings through J. Cole lyrics, almost as if that he's talking to her through the afterlife in the body of J. Cole. And other tracks like Change and Immortal just separated J. Cole from the rest of his peers, which could have been a bittersweet feeling now that people idolize and love you for your art, but at the same time you feel that uneasy pressure on them if you don't deliver, which now thinking about it, it sounds similar to another artist too, and it makes sense why they move the way they do and how low-key they are. But in that same year, in the making of For Your Eyes Only, Mike Brown was shot and killed by a police officer, which incited many protesters in Ferguson and many public figures speaking out, including J. Cole. Now in that moment, if you ask me, this would really captivated many people's mindset of putting J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar on this pedestal and assuming that these are the leaders we're gonna look to speak out every time some injustice happen. Whenever we need a black pride anthem, we look at them to make one no matter what, and that's what Kendrick did.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel it? We gon' be alright.
Not to say that it was the full fault of the people, cause Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole were playing into the role, but I think as time went on, they realized that they weren't the right people to be looked at as black leaders of the injustice community or the public figure of a spokesperson at a Black Lives Matter rally, considering that they probably had issues of their own they gotta deal with in their personal life, and it probably made fans look at them different cause of that. And with that disappointment in the fans, it probably could play a role in why J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar are so low-key today, and it may even have them question in some days if they should continue rapping or not cause of that. J. Cole would even even had to explain himself on a 2020 track called Snow on the Bluff, how he's not really in tune to the protests that black people are doing like people perceive him to be, and admits deep down that he could be doing more than he's actually doing. Growing up for J. Cole, negative effects on addiction was always strong in his household, and it mainly came from his own mother as she struggled with alcohol dealing with their stepfather, as they would be in a crossfire from verbal and physical abuse. And the way that J. Cole dealt with it, he would just run away from his problems instead of tackling it head on. But as he got older, he learned how to cope with it by meditating, instead of finding a negative reinforcement to make things worse like drugs. And that would become the overall sentiment with his 2018 KLD album, where he emphasizes that popping pills and numbing the depression ain't the way to go, cause you can meet a very tragic consequence due to it. And sadly, later that same year, a pair of J. Cole's would too, when Mac Miller was found dead after ODing on fentanyl. His passing really hurted J. Cole, not just cause he was a famous rapper, but also due to the fact that they came in the game around the same time, and to see your fellow peer just lose his life so tragically probably hit at a chord for him.
I want to take y'all back to earlier tonight when I was telling y'all about the meaning behind this whole KOD album. And I want to take you a little deeper and tell you what it's really about. As you grow up, you see some traumatic shit. Maybe your mother was on drugs. Maybe your father wasn't around. Maybe he was an alcoholic. Pain. Maybe you saw somebody get shot, stabbed. That's pain. Maybe somebody put their hands on you when you was young. That's pain. Or maybe it's a different type of pain, a more subtle, quiet, silent pain that grows over time. And before you know it, Montreal, before you know it, you 20 fucking years old, and you walking around with all of this shit on you that you accumulated in your life, all this shit on your shoulders, you walking around with this shit, and nobody ever showed you how to get this shit the fuck off you. And the next thing you know, you 30 years old, and you walking around with all this shit on you, even more shit, because now you done been through your 20s, you done felt more pain, now you got more shit to carry around. And nobody ever showed you how to get this shit off you. In Montreal, people die every day. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, people die, they leave this earth, and they never dealt with their shit. They didn't know how, and they didn't know they should. And I'm here tonight to tell y'all this. Me, myself, I ain't trying to wait till I die to handle my shit. I'm trying to deal with my shit as soon as fucking possible. Fuck that. I'm tired of running from shit. Fuck that.
I think now more than ever in the current state of J. Cole's life, his main focus isn't music anymore. He's getting to the point in his career where he felt like he accomplished everything he wanted to, and the drive is slowly fading away as days go by. Cause from our perspective, we look at J. Cole as only a rapper, but in his life he's more than just an artist. He's a son, a brother, a husband, and most importantly a father. Even in our most recent times hearing about J. Cole, it still seems like that his first love is basketball even before music, and his dream would end up coming true once he played in the Ronaldo League in 2021 and then was signed to the Canadian League in the next year too, but neither really lasted that long. And I feel like J. Cole is still trying to find himself, cause he knows he's more than just a music artist, and there's another hobby out there that he's still looking for but hasn't found yet, and I'm hoping that he does, cause at the end of the day I want his happiness to be fulfilled too. An artist shouldn't be held hostage to keep forcing music out just cause fans want it, or they feel like they're entitled to it just cause you're a mainstream artist. I feel like they should wait until an artist is 100% ready and fully capable of expressing their music talent, especially somebody like J. Cole, who's for 10 plus years always delivered and always fulfilled fans' happiness, and it's about time that we let him get his.